Social movements in Uruguay are mobilizing against a bill that would grant house arrest to those prosecuted for crimes against humanity. The United States won the appeal to overturn Assange extradition. Tanzania celebrates 60 years of independence. Hi, this is From the South. I am your news anchor, Diego Martin, from the Telesur studios in Havana. We begin with the news. Social movements in Uruguay are mobilizing against a bill that would grant house arrest to those prosecuted for crimes against humanity. Demonstrators, among them mothers and relatives of disappeared detainees of the former military dictatorship, as well as trade unions, mobilized to reject the bill introduced by 3 senators from the far-right Cabildo Abierto party, a member of the governing coalition with a large military membership led by a former commander-in-chief of the army. The bill would grant house arrest to all convicted persons aged over 65, regardless of their crimes. The opposition Broad Front, or Frente Amplio, underlined that the protest ratifies its commitment to truth and justice and the firm desire that the atrocities that occurred during the last dictatorship are never again committed in Uruguay. This Thursday, Argentina sees a swearing in of the 24 senators elected in the midterm elections of November 14th. The 24 senators and 127 members of parliament elected in November will formally assume their responsibilities on Friday. The new lawmakers have already distributed their benches in compliance with the established legal framework and elected the new board of directors, which ratified Sergio Massa of the Front for All as president of the chamber. A group of jurists have filed a new impeachment request in the Brazilian Chamber of Deputies against far-right President Jair Bolsonaro based on the report of the Parliamentary Commission of his inquiry on his management of the COVID-19 pandemic. With the latest requests, there have now been a total of 143 impeachment petitions filed against the Brazilian president since he took office. On this occasion, the petition was filed by jurist Miguel Reale Jr., together with the 3 senators. Reale criticized Bolsonaro's defensive posture regarding so-called collective immunization without vaccination, as well as the boycott of the use of face masks, vaccines, and social isolation, and his promotion of large gatherings of his supporters. He further commented that these actions by Bolsonaro endangered the lives and health of an undetermined number of people, stressing that the president did nothing more than conspire against the very law he had enacted, which established a plan to combat the pandemic. Chile's legalization of same-sex marriage was signed into law this Thursday, representing a major achievement for the LGBTQI community. Wow. By Congress 2 days ago and will also married same-sex couples to adopt children. Chilean President Sebastián Piñera signed the law on Thursday, which has been fiercely opposed by the far-right candidate in the December 19th presidential runoff, José Antonio Cast. In Latin America, same-sex couples could until now get married in Costa Rica, Ecuador, Colombia, Brazil, Uruguay, and Argentina, as well as in 18 of Mexico's 32 states. Chile legalized same-sex civil unions in 2015, and the LGBTQI community has been awaiting the passage of the marriage bill since then President Michelle Bachelet sent it to Congress in 2017. The AIFE International Electronic Music Festival returns to Cuba this December for its 5th edition, bringing together artists from Latin America and Europe. We have more details with our correspondent, Lisandra Andres.
The AIE Festival returns to the Cuban culture scene this December. More than 17 artist projects from Mexico, Spain, and the United Kingdom and Cuba will participate from December the 9th to December the 12th in the 5th edition of the event, which will be held in an online format.
Social media gives you the chance to reach a wider audience, and that is the good experience that the pandemic has brought us, which has allowed us to open up a little more on the path to reach a significant audience, even international.
As explained by its organizers, since its creation, the AEF encourages the artists who participate to investigate and deepen their knowledge of the rhythmic roots of the Cuban music, a proposal that seeks to make the festival an international reference for electronic fusion where young creators of this genre in Cuba can showcase their work.
The festival has of course its primary objective, which is to explore the roots, to recover a little bit of the rhythms of Cuban music that are inevitably falling into oblivion. But when you combine them with electronic music, you bring them closer to new generations, and therefore you give a second life to those rhythms.
This year's edition presents a lineup with a renewed representative of the Cuban music, and also gives visibility to women in the electronic music genre. Musical performances and workshops with important artists will emerge as part of this gathering.
We are creating more and more. We're reinventing ourselves. We have merged with dance, with musicians, with other artists, with DJs. Many artistic expressions have been introduced within the festival. And that is the idea. Everything is about Cuba, from the roots to the most contemporary.
For 5 years, AEF has been working to place Cuba in the world circuit of electronic music and to bring the younger generations closer to the cultural roots of the country, with its distinctive seal of fusion between different rhythms, a festival, as its organizers assure, created in Cuba and designed for the world.
Lisandra Andrés, Telesur, La Habana, Cuba.
We'll be right back after this very short break. Don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. The United States government on Friday won an appeal against a London court ruling that had blocked the extradition of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange from the United Kingdom. Washington challenged the decision made in January that the 50-year-old Australian would be a suicide risk if he was transferred to the U.S. justice system. The U.S. government has indicted Assange on 18 charges relating to WikiLeaks' release of 500,000 secret files on the conflicts in Afghanistan and Iraq. Two appeal judges at the High Court in London accepted U.S. assurances that Assange would not face the strictest measures before any trial or after conviction. The case will now go back to the lower court to be considered again. If extradited, tried, and convicted, Assange could be jailed up for up to 175 years, although the exact sentence is difficult to estimate and could be shorter. Russian President Vladimir Putin warned of the possibility of genocide in Ukraine in the face of escalating Russophobia. The comments came in response to questions from reporters at a time of heightened tensions as Ukraine continues a military buildup on Russia's borders with the backing of Western powers led by the United States. The Russian president pointed to Kiev's attacks on Donbass, a predominantly Russian-speaking region that declared its independence from Ukraine in May 2014, following the fascist coup by the West. The United States and its allies have for weeks accused Russia of planning an invasion of Ukraine and massing troops along Kiev's borders, while NATO forces continue their military encirclement of Russia and the West extends sanctions. The United States is seeing resurging worker power. In the latest example, workers at 2 Starbucks cafes in Buffalo, New York, won a decisive majority in voting to establish a union. Employees hugged and cried tears of joy at the union office as the ballots for the first shop to unionize surpassed the threshold. The outcome was also cheered by 2 of the most prominent U.S. progressive politicians, Senator Bernie Sanders and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who congratulated the workers for persevering through a difficult campaign. Under the banner of Starbucks Workers United, about 50 employees at cafes in this city launched the campaign in late August, seeking to become the first Starbucks stores to unionize of the over 8,000 corporate-owned locations in the U.S. Organizers say Starbucks rushed to hire new staff ahead of the election and launched a campaign of psychological warfare, urging employees to vote no to unionizing.
But we are incredibly excited to announce that we've won the first unionized Starbucks in U.S. history. It has been unbelievably long road to get to this point. We did a count today, and it has been 102 days since we filed our petition for unionization.
All the way until now. Today it's 109 days since we asked to have an election in our store. And during that time, the company has swarmed our stores with managers. They have totally disrupted the work environment by closing down stores and remodeling them, taking us off of work. And they have hosted anti-union meetings.
Smart organizer. The workers were hugely interested. I've never seen more interest in a worker. It was hard to find anyone that wasn't interested. And I've never seen in 44 years a more intense and unethical response by a global corporation to a union campaign.
We have more stories coming up after this final short break. Stay with us. Hi, welcome back. Tanzania marked the 60th anniversary of its independence with a military parade and the presence of leaders of neighboring countries. The parade included drills by school children with leaders such as Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta and Rwandan President Paul Kagame in attendance. The former British colony known as Tanganyika secured its independence in 1961, officially becoming Tanzania after merging with Zanzibar 3 years later and adopting a system of multi-party democracy in 1992. The independence movements of the two nations had worked together in their struggles, led by the Tanganyika African National Union and the Afro-Shirazi Party, respectively. Tanzania First Woman President Samia Suluhu Hassan took office in May this year.
The return of these independence celebrations in this national stadium has really made me happy. We were used to these kind of celebrations, but they have been cancelled and postponed for a while. When the government decided to bring them back, it really made us happy, and that's why you saw a great turn of our citizens. But above all, what really made most people happy, including myself, is seeing that we have a strong and well-equipped military.
Tanzania has really made a huge step growing both economically and industrially in the past 60 years, and this economic growth has resulted in an increase of local and foreign investors. This is a great step for us, but also the infrastructure in our country has really been improved, which has resulted in bringing development to our country.
I have been really impressed by our President Samia. She has proven to us to have good diplomatic relations with our neighboring countries. Just imagine, we have witnessed 5 different presidents from different neighboring countries attend this year's independence celebration. But also, I personally have witnessed several cars and buses carrying foreign investors that have also attended today's celebrations. So this is a good sign for our country.
U.S. airstrikes against civilians in Syria continue, representing a gross violation of human rights and Syrian sovereignty. Speaking as part of the South-South Human Rights Forum hosted by China, Bouthane Shaban, a senior advisor to Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, denounced that the United States, under the pretext of the fight against terrorism, has intervened in Syria for years, occupying part of the country and stealing its natural resources. The official pointed out that after its invasion of Iraq in 2003, Washington has rejected any policy that does not fit with its agenda and proceeded to apply coercive measures against sovereign nations that oppose its hegemonic policies. At the same time, Shaban condemned the repeated U.S. airstrikes in recent months that have caused numerous civilian casualties.
We condemn the violation of the human rights and killing of the Syrian people by the United States and condemn the plundering of our resources. The presence of the United States in Syria is an open aggression. We will resist the U.S. occupation in every possible way until we take back all of our occupied lands.
And within the framework of the United Nations Security Council, Syria urged the major powers to eliminate their weapons of mass destruction. Syrian ambassador to the United Nations organization, Bassam Sabah, called this Wednesday for the elimination of weapons of mass destruction, mainly in the Middle East due to the threat they pose for peace in the region. Sabah also assured that his country rejects the use of chemical weapons by any party at any time or place and under any circumstance. Syria has denounced on several occasions the use of such weapons by the United States and Israel to attack not only its territory but also other countries in the region, hindering the processes seeking peace and stability and an end to existing armed conflicts. The annual Festival of Lights has begun in the French city of Lyon, during which residents come together to decorate the facades of buildings, squares, and parks. Let's take a closer look in the following report.
The Festival of Lights, celebrated in the French city of Lyon, is a festival that takes place in 4 days in a row, starting every December 8th. The whole city is illuminated at night, and public buildings, squares, and parks, and even lakes become canvases to display works of art. On this occasion, the festival will take place in 27 areas of Lyon, forming part of the backdrop of 31 light and sound shows that make visible the art exhibited by upcoming creators who make up 70% of the participants in this technological and cultural event, which has been held for more than 3 centuries. The festival, which this year demands that attendees comply with the strict biosecurity measures to curb the spread of COVID-19, was originally a Catholic celebration that began in the 17th century, when the bubonic plague struck the inhabitants of Lyon, and Catholics chose to make promises to the Church of Fourvière, famous for receiving successive vows in the face of epidemics, vowing that they would pay homage every year if the disease disappeared, and that is how the festival began. Since then, a pilgrimage to Fourvière has taken place every December the 8th to fulfill the promise of the aldermen. The tradition, adopted since 1852 with candle lighting on the evening of December the 8th, is considered the 4th biggest festival in the world in terms of visitors. Over time, it became a secular celebration that allows the spotlights to shine on this metropolis each year. While given the technological advances since 1989, and under the leadership of the city's former mayor, Lyon's landmarks are adorned with lights and artistic arrangements that give life to this legendary city.
We've come to the end of this news brief. Remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website, Tell Us Our English. You can also follow us for the latest news on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. You can catch up on our shows also on YouTube. For Tell Us Our English, I'm Dio Martin. Thanks for watching.